Young Junk!
Hey, welcome to the Micheaux Mission. 2 men, 1 podcast, every black film ever made. My name is Len, a.k.a. the Bat Tribble. And as always, I am joined by my partner.
Hey, this is Vincent Williams.
Tonight, we are continuing to go doc to school.
Mm-hmm.
Or it might be better said tonight that we are going doc to university because we have a dissertation for you. As Vincent selected for tonight's review, When the Levees Broke.
When the Levees Broke.
A requiem in 4 acts. Spike Lee's story of the Hurricane Katrina disaster that took place in 2005 that totally destroyed and changed forever the city of New Orleans and the United States as well. That's our stop tonight on the Micheaux Mission as we stream live from Young Junk, Philadelphia's premier video podcast palace, to all points north, south, east, and west. That means you on X, that means you in Facebook, and that means each and every one of you out there enjoying the show on YouTube and saying hello in the chat right now. Hello, missionaries.
Good evening, one and all.
Vincent, how are you doing, man?
I am fine. I think, like a lot of us, a little melancholy. We're going to talk about, but I'm good overall. Over on yourself?
I am in a weird mood.
Yeah.
Thanks to the goings on of recent days, as well as your selection for tonight. But
Sure.
we'll talk about that later.
Sure.
But the melancholy that Vincent is talking about that has been set on us is because the old adage of they go in threes, the tally has been told. Last week we talked about the passing of one James Earl Jones.
Yes, we did.
At the young age of 93 years. Today, we come to you, missionaries, with 2 more passings.
Yeah.
From the world of soul and R&B music.
Yeah.
Philadelphia legend.
Oh, my goodness.
Frankie Beverly.
Oh, my goodness.
Passed away on the 10th of
goodness.
September after... he had retired from performance maybe a year or so ago.
Yeah.
But
I mean, was it a year? He wasn't here this summer?
no, I think he retired like last year.
Okay, because, it seemed like he was just here. But, yeah.
I mean, it does.
Yeah.
And it seems like he was always just here rocking out in his all white. Frankie Beverly, who is famous, in the world of R&B for his soul and jazz and for his band Maze. Actually, he was performed and toured all over as Frankie Beverly and Maze. Noted for huge hits, Before I Let You Go, the Golden Time of Day.
It's my favorite. It's my favorite Maze song.
Yeah, mine too. That's interesting. We did not plan this.
Yeah.
Vincent, you are our music historian.
I mean, look
here.
Man, look.
Frankie Beverly, longtime Philadelphia native.
I think Maze featuring Frankie Beverly is a group. It is representative of a cultural phenomenon that I don't know if we'll ever see again, just because of the nature of the world. Like, just unapologetically a black phenomenon. Like, Frankie Beverly was ours.
That's what you right. Everybody loved his music, but his music stayed decidedly.
I don't know if everybody loved his music. Like I do think. Like, I was fascinated when he passed, the disconnect between how I learned about him, social media, text, phone calls, this, that, and the other. Like, it was a moment before CNN posted.
You know what? You're right.
Before MSNBC
Before
posted,
Hollywood
reported it.
Yeah.
The Philadelphia Inquirer reported it fairly soon.
Yes.
But as you said, he is a Philadelphia legend.
Yes.
But this is someone who represented this unapologetic, this sort of intra-cultural phenomenon that, as you said, you named these songs are just
joy and pain,
part of the fabric, part of just the essence of the Black experience in the last 50 years. I saw something. You talked about him going on tour all the time, and shout out to Michael Harriot, the social commentary cultural critic Michael Harriot, who said this. He said that because of schedule, price point, and maze all together, for many of us, maze was the musical act that you saw the most. And I think that is true for me. Like, I saw Maze, I believe, 5 times.
Okay.
Which is more than I've seen anyone else. Like, I've seen The Roots, I think, 4 times. I've seen Tribe 2 or 3 times. Saw Stevie Wonder twice. Saw Prince twice. But, like, saw Frankie Beverly featuring Maze featuring Frankie Beverly. And here's the thing. I think I did, because appropriately enough, I don't remember whether or not I saw Maze at Essence in New Orleans.
Okay.
Because the nature of Maze, and I heard Jill Scott say this, Maze is the only group that you pay your money to go to a Maze concert and sing their songs to them.
Yep.
Like, I'm paying money to sit in here and sing Frankie Beverly songs to Frankie Beverly. And I don't remember if I saw Maze in Essence or if it was just an impromptu sing-along. Because, Before I Let Go came on. And then thousands of us just start singing it back to him.
His songs were
singing his songs.
You hear the first opening notes of almost every one of his songs, and you're off and running.
Look, man, if I say dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun, oh,
yep,
it's on.
It's on.
It is on.
Yep.
That's all you gotta do.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's
the other thing about Frankie Beverly is that you paid those 5 times to go see him, even though you were going to see the same show.
The exact same show.
You were going to see the exact same show.
Exact same show.
Probably exact same playlist.
Look.
Exact same order.
One of the times I saw Prince was here, and when Prince came to Philly, I learned, apparently this was something that Prince people knew. Like, Tanya Pendleton is probably rolling her eyes with what I'm about to say. Like, if Prince is somewhere performing 3 times, you need to go all 3 times.
Of course.
Because it's a different show every night. Like you said, you saw Maze. You look, this the show.
This the show.
But it was a perfect show.
You were there.
It was a perfect show.
You were there. You might be you're all white to match him.
Look.
And just have a good time.
Look.
Good summertime at the Man with Maze and Frankie Beverly.
Look.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it is. I feel sad for young people who are never going to be able to see him now.
I know.
So,
I know.
but yeah, that hurt. Yeah, that hurts.
Definitely. We also lost recently, and this is fairly recently, on the 15th of September, 1/5 or another 5th of the original Jackson 5, as Tito Jackson passed away at the age of 71, the famed guitarist, and probably the only Jackson 5 member that's synonymous with being a musician.
Right. Because Jermaine played bass, but you don't see him.
But Tito, his cartoon had the guitar.
His cartoon had him playing the guitar.
So he was that was his vibe.
Yeah.
And he was always, and because of that, he was always kind of like the background,
right?
More or less the drummer of the group of the kin. He was definitely the more soft-spoken one.
Yeah,
you know, he wasn't out there. He was the last one to do a solo album. Yeah, and then when he did a solo album, it was more in the blues tradition.
The blues, right?
Because that was where his music roots and enjoyment lied. And passed on to his music tradition to his family. You know, produced his sons, 3T, and you know, probably someone because of the star that is Michael and Janet Jackson, and then then you've got Jermaine, and then even under that you've got Rebe, you know,
Randy and the Gypsies,
Never
forget Randy and the Gypsies.
You know, and he is someone who doesn't get his just due.
Right. Well, if you know the Jackson story, you know this story. There would be no Jackson nothing if it wasn't for Tito. Tito is the one who, quote unquote, borrowed Joe's guitar, broke a guitar string. Joe, as we all know, a very even-tempered, thoughtful man, raised all kind of hell. You know, who been touching my guitar? Who messed it up? Tito said, we've been practicing and playing. Joe says, well, you know what? If you've been playing, play. And Tito, Jermaine, and Marlon, Tito, Jackie, and Jermaine, and then Marlon kind of jumps in, start to play for Joe.
For Joe, yeah.
And then Joe says, if y'all are serious, we gonna take this seriously. And then he starts, training them.
Yeah.
And then obviously at some point, their littler brother, Michael, joins the group, and the rest is history.
Amen.
Hell of a player, though. Like hell of a guitar player, self-taught. But he, like you said, I think many of us don't give Tito his musical due.
Right.
But yeah.
I'm going to give you, as our music guy.
Yeah, sure. It's only two of us, so I guess I'll be the guy.
I mean, you wrote a column on music culture.
Go ahead.
For 10 years.
Just a lot of pressure, but go ahead.
Okay. But I'm going to give you the opportunity.
In a half hour, you'd be telling me to connect somebody to somebody else. Go ahead.
You don't realize what this show is?
It's a high wire act.
Exactly.
In front of a bunch of people, but we want more people. Go ahead.
I'm going to give you the opportunity to give Tito his justice.
Okay.
This is justice for Tito Jackson.
Justice for Tito.
Because when he passed, I was thinking about him as, a guitarist and wondered whether or not he actually got his just due.
Okay.
So I looked up a list.
Okay.
Of the greatest guitar artists.
Oh my goodness gracious. Okay. All right.
Rolling Stone in 2023.
Here we go with this bullshit.
But admittedly in 2023.
All right.
So they did a listing of the top 250 guitar artists of all time.
All right.
250.
250.
All right. Where do you think Tito Jackson lands in 250 guitar
on Rolling Stones list?
Okay. Before you throw a scant eye, let me tell you that Rolling Stones list had Eric Clapton in the 20s.
That doesn't surprise me.
Fair.
Yeah.
Prince is number 14.
Yeah, see right there. Okay, go ahead. Come on.
Jimi Hendrix is number 1.
Of course.
Okay.
Of course, Hendrix is 1.
Okay. And
that's day 1.
And I think number 2 is...
No, Ernie Osley taught him, but go ahead.
Number 2 is Chuck Berry.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so
about right.
So, but that gives... All right. So where do you think Tito Jackson lands in the list of 250?
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Where would you just hasten to guess? And mind you, they go obscure with some. They go to blues. They go to jazz, rock, R&B. all over.
In the hundreds?
In the hundreds.
Yeah, 100
right?
something?
Somewhere like 100 something,
Yeah.
right? Tito Jackson lands outside of the 250 greatest guitar artists.
That doesn't surprise me in the least.
You
There's nothing surprising about anything that you just said.
Is that because it's Rolling Stone?
Yes.
Okay. So it's not necessarily that you would put him outside.
You ready? You ready? Because we got to do provocative stuff. So let's be provocative. Tito Jackson's a better guitar player than Paul McCartney. Wait, did Paul play bass? John played. Tito Jackson's a better guitar player than John Lennon.
Oh, I can believe. I would say that. Okay, so here's your opportunity.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. Come on. We got.
I know.
Talk about floods and
I know.
insurance companies.
So what I went from this list, starting at 250, and I moved up 50 all the way up. So all the way up to 50 to see whether or not you would put these people above.
All right, how many people going in?
So it's just 5.
All right, go ahead. All right, these 5.
So at number 250,
all right,
from the Police is Andy Summers.
He's a better guitar player than Andy Summers. And
I thought so as
well. And you know who else would say that?
Andy Summers.
Andy Summers.
You're absolutely right.
Go ahead.
You're absolutely right. At number 200, from the world of blues,
okay,
Kingfish Ingram.
Is that the young boy?
Yes.
He's a better guitar player than Tito.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the big young boy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he nice.
Okay.
Yeah,
very
he's
nice. All right. Cool. At 150.
Okay.
From the screaming females, Marissa Paternoster.
I'm not familiar with her work.
Me neither.
So I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not going to
fair
speak
enough.
on her.
Okay. At number 100, from Slayer, Kerry King.
The band Slayer?
Yes.
Yeah, he's a better guitarist than that guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And at number 50, again, dipping into the world of jazz and blues.
Okay.
Elmore James.
Elmore James is a better guitarist than Tito.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So all 5 of them,
right?
They had ranked because Tito doesn't crack the 250.
Sure. And then just because he just picked the black guys who are better than Tito, like I think the Cream guys are better guitarists than Tito.
Oh yeah, I mean,
and but I also know I like the fact that the Slayer guy is even on the list. Quietly, the fact that Andy Summers is on the list.
Yeah, even at 250.
Right.
Because to be fair, when I listen to the Police, I don't hear the guitar. So
I do.
I guess I do, but I
love the Police.
I love the Police.
I love the Police.
I just don't pay attention.
That's how come I can definitively say that. Yeah.
What does Sting play?
Sting plays bass.
Oh, he plays the bass. Okay. All right. Well, there's justice for Tito.
Justice for Tito.
Because he belongs somewhere in the 250.
Hey man, look, absolutely. I wonder, where's Ernie Isley? Do you know off the top of your head?
I don't know.
Okay, all right.
I don't remember seeing him on there, though.
Oh, I know he's on there. There's no way they're that disrespectful. We can do that later.
I'm not going to look it up.
All right, yeah.
It's 250. I ain't got time.
Yeah.
It's a large list with pictures, and I ain't got time for that. Come on, man. I gave him. There's your justice, Tito.
Justice for Tito.
Rest in peace, bro.
All right.
And now it's time for your emails, folks, or as we like to call them,
missives from the missionaries.
So what else is going on, Lynn?
We have emails, Vincent.
Ooh, missives from the missionaries. Ooh. Missives from the missionaries.
Missives from the missionaries. We only got 2 tonight, Vincent, because we got a stacked show.
Yeah.
This is from Corey P.
What's up, Corey?
Good morning, Len, Vincent, and missionaries. Before I start off, I want to say my favorite Sidney Poitier movie so far is A Warm December. That movie felt so heartwarming that I almost cried. A beautiful movie with beautiful scenery. I pose a question for you both, but it will be separate for Len since he isn't a big music fan like Vincent.
See, I don't think that's fair. You are a big music fan.
Yeah, but you're the historian.
I'm not going to be pigeonholed as the guy, and then you get off the hook. Go ahead, but what is it?
I'll answer it.
All right, go ahead.
So, Vincent, if you could pick an album or albums,
Okay.
you wish you could see the creation of,
Oh, yeah.
what would those be?
Oh. Probably Minnie Riperton's Perfect Angel.
Oh, that's a very obscure selection.
It's not that obscure.
I don't think anybody out there would have thought you would have name checked Minnie Riperton at this moment.
Look, I think people know people know what my what my faves are like that little period. Is it Keep Your Head to the Sky that Charles Stepney does work on? Whichever Earth, Wind, and Fire album that is that Charles Stepney did all the work on. Let's say Keep Your Head to the Sky, because even if he didn't, an Earth, Wind, and Fire would
Any Earth
would be very. And, you know, what's going on? Look, I can name a bunch of these. What's going on? You know, I'll bring in some white people, and here you go. Here's a hipster one. Here's the hipster. Here's the stereotypical hipster, white hipster answer. I would love to have been in the studio when the Beach Boys did Pet Sounds.
Okay.
Yeah. So Pet Sounds. My Favorite Things.
Okay.
Like, I would love to be in there for My Favorite Things, and then I'll stop because I can literally rattle these on for the next hour.
I see. I would name only two off
What?
the top of my head. One would be Sign of the Times, Prince.
That's a good one.
I'd love to be like at every session.
That's a
for
good
every
pick.
song.
Yeah.
And the other is I would just love to be in the room to watch my man Dean Martin with a band singing some Italian music.
Any particular album? You got to pick an album. Which
See,
album?
but Dean Martin, it's not about his albums. It's just about being in the room.
Yeah, but you got to say the.
I don't even know his albums. I just know Dean Martin. I just want to see Dean. I want to see Dean Martin.
You want to do Frank
recording.
Sinatra with Count Basie?
See, I wouldn't
That
want
album?
No, I wouldn't want
That's
to.
a great album.
It is, but the only reason I wouldn't say Frank Sinatra is because I run hot and cold with Frank Sinatra, the man.
Look, most of these people are assholes.
I understand.
I don't know if they had 1,000 bottles.
I understand that, but there's something about Dean.
Baby oil in their house, like some people.
He's looking at you, Damon. But I don't.
No, I'm not. Damon's not in prison without bail. Go.
Dylan, didn't we say before the show?
We did. I literally did say. But you know what? Yeah, I did. But you know, take that. Go ahead. Can't stop, won't stop.
Because rules are only made to be broken by him.
In real time. Go ahead.
Anyway, she continues. That's my answer, Dean Martin.
All right.
She continues. For me, for Len, if you could pick a movie or TV series that you wish you could witness the creation of with your own eyes, what would that be? She says that I know for me, it's a mix of both TV show, movies, and albums. They would include The Making of Living Single,
Good one.
A Different World, the second season. And
All right. Yeah, of course.
obviously Do the Right Thing.
Yeah.
A Love Supreme by John Coltrane. Off the Wall or Thriller by Michael Jackson. That actually would have been my second choice, Off the Wall.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Any Janet Jackson album spanning from Control to The Velvet Rope.
Okay.
Or D'Angelo's Voodoo.
Oof.
Oh, Dylan just said that he was going to say D'Angelo's Voodoo as well.
Voodoo is a good one.
That's a very good one.
Aquarian moment.
Yeah.
That's a good moment.
That's a good one.
Good choice.
To think about a TV show or a movie that I would like to witness the creation of with my own eyes. I feel like I actually have watched one of the TV shows because I just watched the 2-part documentary on The Sopranos, Wise Guy, and there's a lot of behind the scenes footage on that.
Sure.
So I feel like I've almost already watched.
How's that documentary?
It's good.
Okay.
It's very good. It's very good. I enjoyed it a lot.
All right.
But I would say TV series. I'll stay live action TV series because I could pick almost any animated one.
Sure.
But I'll say, hey, let's be silly and fun. 1966 Batman.
Okay.
Just to be silly and fun.
Okay.
But movie, where I probably will be a little bit more serious about it, I think it would have been real fun to be on the set of I was going to say Uptown Saturday Night, but that's too easy.
Yeah, but still.
That's close. But I think it would have been real kind of fun to be on the set of that's a good. Wow. I'll land on either Boomerang.
Okay.
Or what's the gangster one? Eddie.
Oh, Harlem Nights.
Harlem Nights.
Okay.
Harlem Nights. I'm iffy on Harlem Nights because there's a part of me that wants to be there for Richard.
Sure.
And Fred.
Sure.
And Red and Eddie and Della together. But I recognize that Richard is not at his peak of his powers in that. But I bet Red Fox is a ball of fun in that.
I bet he is.
So you know what? I'll land on Harlem Nights.
Okay. Corey didn't ask me,
but I answered music, so go ahead.
We talked about it when we reviewed it. If I had a time machine within 2 weeks of taking trips in it, I would go to the set of Porgy and Bess.
Okay, yeah.
So many of the people from that era had stories about the making of Porgy and Bess. Harry Belafonte, even though he's not it, but he was around. Brock Peters, Sidney Poitier, Dorothy Dandridge, Diane Carroll, Maya Angelou, Nichelle Nichols, Sammy Davis Jr. Like so many people, Della Reese, like so many people who I've read their stories. There's a moment in their story where they reference Porgy and Bess.
More importantly, the making of
Porgy and Bess. So I would love to have been a fly on the wall and see all of it unfold.
Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah.
It's another good one around that same time. It's Anna LaCosta.
Anna LaCosta.
Yeah. See that vibe between Sammy and Eartha?
Because it's like 10 years after they had dated?
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So that's a good one. But do a series.
Television series? Look, you said you're not going to do it, but I'm going right in your backyard. I would love to have been in the storyboard sessions, the planning, the plot sessions, all of it for Batman the Animated Series.
Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I really wanted.
Like just the because you have of course you have the book that
Batman Animated.
That Batman Animated joint is out of print.
I know.
If you have $200-300, you can get one. But just the stories, and again, the storyboards and the ideas. And so I would do Batman the Animated Series.
We both chose Batman.
There you go.
There you go. All right. So thank you, Corey, for that email.
Corey.
Appreciate it, as always. We got another email.
Okay.
And this one is from Michael Lockett.
Hey, Michael.
Subject line, it's a trip, so adjust your color. Greeting, Len and Vincent. Let me again thank you for putting a new dish in front of me to consume. Adjust Your Color, The Truth of P.D. Green, was a wonderful doc. I found it better than Talk to Me, the film, which I loved.
Okay.
The doc, as you both pointed out, needed more insight into Petey, the man, from those closest to him. That said, when we did have footage, it was enthralling. This is the kind of story where I wish my parents were still alive to ask them, what do y'all think of this, brother?
Mm-hmm.
That's right. On a side note, I could not agree more with Vincent regarding misogynoir having zero effect on the careers of black men, black women, or anybody else for that matter. It hurts to see it and hurts to know that some of our elevated, melanated folks, a la Sidney or James Earl, were down for this. If you don't have anything nice to say, shut the hell up, boy, my dad would say.
Yeah.
On my time travels, I was with you brothers for a girls' trip.
Yes.
There are some comedies that no matter how many times I see them, I still laugh out loud. Friday, Girls Trip, and he saved the best for last. Well, I did. It's a mad, 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 mad world.
That's Lynn's jam.
And maybe that's a movie I could have been on the
Maybe that
could, this film, in my opinion, Girls Trip, broke so much ground for black women that I feel like we haven't really had a great black female-led comedy since. Watching it made me wonder who would be in your Mount Rushmore of black female comics that have appeared on the large or small screen, taking out stand-up routines. All the best, Micheaux.
Oh, that's a good question.
So black female comics, not including stand-up.
Yeah, not stand-up. So yeah.
So I guess like comic actress.
Yeah.
Well, I'm putting. I could actually put.
So Rushmore is 4?
Rushmore is 4.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, Rushmore is 4. Mm-hmm. So I would put. Ooh, well, you know who our girl is from your show, Martin.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not as huge a fan of Martin as everyone else is, but I would put Tisha Campbell on that Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, half of mine is coming from Martin, so you know where I'm going.
Because the other one is probably Tichina Arnold.
Yeah.
And then, wow, who am I going? After Tichina and Tisha, wow. Do you have anyone else?
Oh yeah, I was waiting for you to finish.
No, I mean we can do this a joint thing. So we've got 2.
Tisha Campbell, and I told you I'm working my way through Martin, and it between working my way through Martin and I told you Wendy is watching this new, these women of a certain age, so I'm watching both of them at the same time, and I think the best thing that happened to Tisha Campbell's ability to perform was getting a little older, because I think because she is a lighter-skinned actress, because she is pretty, so because of colorism and because of sexism and everything, she's pigeonholed so much as the pretty girl. Like, it's actually frustrating watching the first season of Martin where she's not allowed to be funny.
Yeah.
Like, he just kind of puts her in suits and paws her every episode.
Well,
but now that she's gotten a little older, it's given her more freedom to perform. And we've said it many times before. I think Tisha Campbell is sort of in that Lucille Ball mold, where she can do all this stuff, this physical comedy, this other kind of comedy. Along those same lines, Tichina Arnold
every bit
is the same thing. Because of colorism, she had a little bit more room to be funny, because heaven forbid you treat the dark-skinned brown girl as the pretty girl.
Yeah.
But she's another one. Like, it boggles my mind. Well, actually, it doesn't, because Tichina Arnold knows she keep a job, and I think Neighborhood is probably a good check. But I do not understand why there's not been a Tisha Campbell, Tichina Arnold vehicle.
I know.
Like, just throw them in there.
I think I've read
Laverne and Shirley, and just give them 7 seasons. My third is Regina Hall.
I was just saying my third one would be Regina Hall.
You know, Regina Hall is a monster.
Yep.
As far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
And my fourth, I'm going to go back a little bit.
Okay. Because this is a Mount Rushmore.
You know, I think Denise Nicholas is hilarious.
Okay.
I'm going Denise Nicholas.
Okay. I wouldn't have gone Denise Nicholas. I wouldn't have gone Denise Nicholas, but that's a good one. That's definitely a good one. I was actually thinking about Regina Hall though. I was actually my third one, as I was thinking about it, would have been Regina Hall. And I'm fine with Denise Nicholas. You know, rock out for that. So there you go. There's our Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. Okay.
All right.
Well, that's it. That's our emails.
All right.
All right. So now it's time for the top 5.
Top 5. All right. Let's go.
Who's your top 5? My top 5 is. My top 5 is. My top 5 is. My top 5 is.
Top 5, where I give a top 5 listing and Vincent lends to it his scintillating commentary. We're going to keep it in theme, Vincent. We are going to be reviewing for tonight's edition of Doc to School, When the Levees Broke, a Requiem in 4 acts, a documentary about the horrific onslaught of Hurricane Katrina in 2005 and what it left in its wake in New Orleans. And this is a documentary that not only tells the story of what happened, but because of some of the truths that it revealed had lasting impact going forward. So with that in mind, Vincent, I have 5 fairly recent documentaries that also changed the world.
Oh, okay. What we got?
All right.
Very nice.
Starting at number 5, we're going to, and these are in chronological order.
Okay.
So we're only going far as back as 1998.
Okay.
With Earl Morris's The Thin Blue Line.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, Earl Morris, a famed documentarian, tore into the evidence and testimony against Randall Dale Adams, a death row inmate accused of murdering a police officer in the 1980 in this 1998 true crime documentary. His counter argument was so convincing in the documentary that it helped overturn Adams' conviction just days before he was set to be killed by lethal injection.
That's a good one.
Did you ever see that documentary?
Yeah. And what year was that? 90 what?
I have 1998. I think I may have written that wrong. I think that may have been actually 88. Hold on,
I was about to say, because I think that feels older.
I want to just check real quick. It's 88.
Right.
Yeah.
And the reason I thought that, because that's before Rodney King.
Right.
That's before, and it's so funny, we were talking about OJ Made in America before we started taping, and one of the things that they do so well in that documentary is talk about how, because of what we've come to call propaganda, you know, sort of entertainment's depiction of the police, the police, and particularly the LAPD, were bulletproof in the public eye, because so many people who've not had firsthand bad experiences with the police just think they're good.
Yeah.
And The Thin Blue Line was one of the first depictions that I remember seeing that kind of pushed back against that. Like even something like Serpico, or you think about the films and the work from the 70s, more often than not, they would kind of say these are bad actors. You know, it's not an institutional issue. And I remember The Thin Blue Line kind of speaking to that. So, yeah, that's a good one.
I'm actually going to take this moment, since you were bringing this up, just to, if you allow me, please, short plug. As some of you may realize that I also, in my other podcasting guys. I'm a producer with Push Black. We produce the Black History Year podcast. It's available on wherever you find podcasts. We actually, Push Black is the executive producers of a new podcast from Crooked Media and Wondery called Empire City, which looks at the history of the NYPD, going all the way back to the creation of the NYPD and looking at the very... It was always racist.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
I'm burying the lead. It was always racist.
Yeah.
So I invite you to check out Empire City, a brand new podcast. Is available wherever you find podcasts. It's hosted by my good friend Chinjirai Kumanika. It's a great podcast. It's available right now on Apple, on Spotify, wherever you find podcasts. Check out Empire City and tell them that Push Black told you about that and the Micheaux Mission. It's a dope podcast. I'm very proud to be associated with it.
Very nice.
All right. Okay. Number four. From 2002.
Okay.
Bowling for Columbine.
Yeah.
Now, this documentary by Michael Moore, actually, which was a documentary pretty much about, the Columbine, the horrific, oh my God, school shooting. Directed by Michael Moore, another noted documentarian. How this changed the world. After Michael Moore confronted Kmart executives over their sale of firearms and ammunition.
That's right.
And how readily accessible it was. The company announced that it would stop selling bullets in all of its stores. The chain of events unfolds in Moore's Oscar-winning documentary, which explores the causes of mass shootings and America's broader relationship with guns.
Yeah. Great doc.
That was a great documentary.
Great
Documentary.
doc.
Definitely changed the world. Number three. From 2006. On a slightly lighter scale, but nonetheless world-changing. Morgan Spurlock's Supersize Me.
Yeah.
This was the documentary where Morgan Spurlock was basically going to live on McDonald's food for 30 days. And that was it. And it was supersized because the one of the conceits of his diet was that where he was going to only live on McDonald's, but if he was offered the opportunity to supersize his meal, he would supersize it.
Yeah.
Less than 2 months after his documentary premiered at Sundance Film Festival, McDonald's announced the end of supersizing.
Yes.
The fast food corporation claimed the decision had nothing to do with Spurlock's grotesque Big Mac binging, but considering the rapid timeline, no one really believed Mickey D's.
Yeah. I remember there have been some issues that have come out about that documentary.
What do you mean?
Where sort of his methodology.
Oh.
And forgive me, I don't know the particulars, but I'm not going to say he faked his findings, but there was something about what he did that didn't jibe with what was presented on the documentary. And if all right, I won't say the and because I honestly just don't remember this detail with the documentary. I'm always, I feel a little icky whenever we shit on people who eat fast foods because it's a lot of economic factors in play that lead to people's in their diets.
I'm not someone who shits on people for eating fast food. I will shit on you if you only eat fast food.
No. I get it. I just it's complicated for a lot of people though, and I think as people who have the option to go to Whole Foods and Trader Joe, and we have fresh food markets and supermarkets.
It's supermarkets. It's not just about Whole Foods and Trader Joe's. It's just supermarkets.
To get bogged down. I think we gotta be real easy with. But all right, yes.
Okay.
Supersize me.
All right.
All right.
Number two.
Number 2.
From 2012.
2012.
The Act of Killing. Are you familiar with this documentary?
I'm familiar. I never saw it.
2012 film is one of the most innovative documentaries ever made. Filmmaker Joshua Oppenheimer, working with an Indonesian co-director who remains anonymous for safety reasons, that will become clear, wanted to tell the story of the Indonesian mass killings that took place in the mid-'60s, where hundreds of thousands of suspected communists and alleged enemies of the New Order regime were targeted. To do so, Oppenheimer talked with some of the men responsible for carrying out the killings, only to find that they were boastful rather than repentant. The director then had these men reenact the mass murders in a bizarre and extremely revealing exercise that culminates in one of the most amazing, true-to-life moments ever recorded. The act of killing faced heavy backlash in Indonesia, but it also marked a major moment of reckoning as survivors of the mass killings began to feel empowered to talk about what actually happened.
Okay. How'd it change the world?
Well, I think people being called to reckon with their atrocities that they caused.
Okay.
In stark terms.
Okay.
It is world changing.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it's on my list, but it's kind of like when you have a pile of books and there are books that end up slipping on top of other books. And it keeps
falling down.
Right, but yeah, it's supposed to be very good.
And number one from 2013, the documentary Blackfish.
Oh, there it is, right there. That's that work right there.
Another documentary dealing with the treatment of marine life. Blackfish uses the case study of Tilikum.
Yeah, Tilikum.
A captured orca whale at SeaWorld to discuss the treatment of whales in captivity and its consequences. A year after the film's release, the United States Congress would update the 1966 Animal Welfare Act to provide protection specifically for orcas and other marine life. That year, SeaWorld would also announce record losses. And in response for calls to Southwest Airlines to terminate their partnership with SeaWorld, they did so in July.
Yeah, it's my favorite documentary.
That's your favorite documentary?
Full stop.
Really?
I love that damn Blackfish.
Really? I mean, I enjoy it.
So good.
It is very good.
And it does everything a documentary is supposed to do. It's instructional. Like, I learned so much. It makes you angry. And it's just, you feel, because of what you learn, you feel dirty saying what I'm about to say. It's so entertaining.
Yeah.
And
yeah, especially when the orcas turn orca.
Well, the thing, in my mind, the greatest truth is a truth that once you learn it, you feel like you always should have known it. Why in the hell are you getting in the water with these things? Like, what?
Yeah.
Who thought this was a good idea? To traumatize an apex predator and then teach him to do tricks. And then let's get in the water with them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's all sweet.
It's got killer in its name.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't let Free Willy fool you.
Oh, my God. Oh, love Blackfish.
Yeah. It's a good one.
Love Blackfish.
All right. So those 5 documentaries that changed the world.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. It is now time for the Game of Kings.
That's right. Where we're the apex predators.
Well, you are. 6 Degrees of Derville Martin. Keeping in theme, 6 Degrees of Derville Martin. Vincent, we are going to be reviewing When the Levees Broke.
Yes, we are.
Requiem in 4 acts, which talks about the horrific ordeal that New Orleans faced in the wake of Hurricane Katrina. These are 2 actors.
Okay.
From New Orleans.
Oh, okay.
Let's see if you can connect them in 6 films or less to Derville Martin.
Okay. All right. Do you know what it means to miss New Orleans?
Starting with number 1 in 6 films or less, connect Derville Martin to
2.
Louis Armstrong.
Speaking of, do you know what it means? We've actually we've seen Louis Armstrong twice on this show. I was just talking about Porgy and Bess, so I'll use the one that connects to that. Derville Martin is in Guess Who's Coming to Dinner with Sidney Poitier. Sidney Poitier is in Porgy and Bess with Sammy Davis Jr. And Sammy Davis Jr. is in A Man Called Adam with Louis Armstrong.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. All right, Vincent. That was the easy one.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that was the easy one.
In 6 films or less,
He's in 2 films I really love. All right.
connect Derville Martin
2.
to, wait a minute, I got to get a contemporary picture of this person up
Okay.
because you'll never know the name.
Okay.
Janie Micheaux.
Who was that? Bustin', can I see a picture?
Yeah, I knew once you see the picture.
Oh, that's a real deep cut right there. Like, I know she's in stuff that I know, but I just don't. Oh my goodness. Does she play Calvin Lockhart's girlfriend in Cotton Comes to Harlem?
No.
I'm going to say Sugar Hill just because it's voodoo.
No.
Lynn, I'm just going to sit here and name blaxploitation films. Like, she 100% looks like an actress who's in these movies.
She's in one. She's in one that you like. Well, one you know.
And we just don't have to. Like, again, I'm just going to sit here and just start across 110th Street.
No. Think Boo.
Boo.
Scary.
Blackenstein.
No. You're close.
She's not in Blackula because that's
No,
Finette
she's not in
McGee.
Blackula.
Is she in Scream Blackula Scream?
She's in
Because that's
Scream Blackula
Pam
Scream.
Grier.
She's in Scream Blackula Scream.
Playing who?
Gloria.
Victim number 3?
She plays Gloria. Remember, Pam Grier is in there, but Pam Grier has a very small, quick role, and she's not like a star in that movie.
Because Dalmas Russella and Denise Nicholas are in Blackula. Who is she in Scream Blackula Scream?
She plays.
And she doesn't have a literal, because remember, she's the voodoo queen. Pam Grier is.
Well, she's in Scream.
I'm about to say, I'm going to take your word for it, because I have.
Scream Blackula Scream.
Oh, okay, fine. Well, then, yeah. Look, Derville Martin is in Sheba Baby with Pam Grier. And Pam Grier's in Scream Blackula Scream with what's her name?
Janie Micheaux.
Very good. Who is that?
She's Gloria in Scream Blackula.
That's who you picked from New Orleans? Lynn, who is that? Is she in anything else?
Yeah, she has a filmography. She's in Soul Soldier.
Oh, come on, man.
She's the leading lady in Soul Soldier.
Come on, Lynn, stop.
She is.
What year's that?
1970.
Soul Soldier.
Soul Soldier.
Who else is in Soul Soldier?
Robert DeCoy. She shares nude sex scenes with him.
Oh, my.
It says so. She's in the Mephisto Waltz. And she's in The House on Skull Mountain.
I like how you landed on and The House on Skull Mountain. Don't you love that film? I'm not familiar with her work. I'm glad you told me she was in Scream Blackula Scream as Gloria.
You know where you might have known her from?
Where?
She also has a role in the 1974 Tower Power episode of Sanford and Son.
Tower Power. What season is this?
It's 1974, so this got to be like the next to the last season, right? No, the last season. No. It's like third season.
What's the plot of that episode?
Yeah, okay.
Come on, dog. You can't be pulling up a Sanford and Son episode that I don't know the plot off the top of my head. The Tower of Power. Is that where he makes art?
I gotta find it. Hold on. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen.
You're doing so well, but then you pulled in Sanford and Son.
I know. I was almost off.
All right.
I was almost off. Tower Power. Let's see.
It's not where he makes the art, the art piece out of garbage, is it?
Tower Power is, wow. I forgot they did so many episodes a season now.
Oh, yeah. It is back when they made television shows.
Yeah. Jesus Christmas.
What's Happening Now has 66 episodes.
You'd like to point that out?
Game of Thrones had 72 episodes.
Yes. Tower Power. A visit to a gallery of abstract art inspires Fred to create a towering heap of junk.
Yeah. So she was like
Janie Michelle was in that episode.
Yeah. She's like the
She was the
art
heap
critic.
of junk.
She's an art critic. Yeah. Okay. I'd had an easier time connecting to that. You saw I knew the plot. When you said Tower of Power, you saw I knew the plot.
Very good. Very good. All right. So that's 6 Degrees of Dope Martin.
Right.
Let's now turn our eyes to New Orleans when the levees broke. A requiem in 4 acts. Okay, I'll pull that up here. Alrighty. I keep forgetting we don't have to wait anymore. We can just go. All right. Spike Lee documents life in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina destroyed the city's anti-flooding safeguards in 2005 in When the Levees Broke, a requiem in 4 acts. In the film, New Orleans residents tell their stories and vent their anger, some calmly, some with unbridled rage, at the callousness displayed by their local, state, and national leaders. Survivors share their own heartbreaking tales, leveling charges and challenges at the officials who failed to protect their lives, their homes, and their city. This documentary, which won an Emmy Award for outstanding documentary filmmaking, was directed by produced and directed by Spike Lee, along with Terrence Blanchard, who was a prominent voice in the documentary as a New Orleans resident, and has a heartbreaking tale of his own that he shares in the story. Was Vincent's selection for this Doc to School edition of the Micheaux mission. Vincent, what say you of When the Levees Broke?
Look, this is a monumental achievement of a documentary. As you mentioned, it is 4 hours long. When it played on HBO, they played it over 2 nights, 2 hours each, and the 2 words that I just came with overall is comprehensive. Like, it really does approach this event around Hurricane Katrina, leading up to it, the aftermath, and so on, in such a comprehensive manner that it is masterful. It is 4 hours, and while certainly you have room to tell a story, 4 hours is also a length that you could very easily get muddled down and go back. And just as a comprehensive document, I think it is masterful. The other word that I come away with is prescient. I think there is so much that I got in 2024 watching this over the past 2 days where I said, this speaks to the moment
Today.
that we are in right now. I'm do something I don't generally do. Like I usually have this almost as a good luck charm. Like I take notes and then I kind of keep it sitting over on the side. And I never open it while we're talking. But because it's I like just to organize my thoughts of just kind of go through each, bullet points each episode. The first episode, I think, deals with the lead up to Katrina. Katrina was a hurricane that hit New Orleans in 2005. And the first episode, I think, does a wonderful job conveying the feeling of everyone.
Yeah.
And which kind of goes to the decisions that they made. You have residents and residents' voices throughout the first episode. I decided to leave. I decided to stay. I was going to go to a hotel. I was going to go here. I was going to go there. And if there's one compliment that I give the overall series, it's how much the voices of the residents of New Orleans you hear
They tell the
throughout.
story.
But besides the residents of New Orleans, you hear from Ray Nagin, who was the mayor at the time. You hear from the lieutenant governor. You hear from the governor.
Yeah.
You hear from faculty at universities. And this is something that you have to commend Spike Lee. At this point in 2009, when this was made, he's Spike Lee. Like at this point, he is one of the most well-regarded and respected directors in the world. And the fact that he could get these people to participate, I thought was really admirable. And the thing that the first episode does so well is that it lets you know that everyone in New Orleans was looking at this through the prism of Hurricane Betsy,
Right.
which was the last big storm that hit in 1965. So that a lot of the people said, and you heard this again and again, I made the decision to stay because I lived through Betsy. There have been storms since Betsy. It's not going to be as bad as Betsy. And you hear Betsy, Betsy, Betsy. But then the other thing that you hear in reference to Betsy is that there have been storms since Betsy that weren't as bad that they told us to evacuate. I evacuated. It wasn't that bad. And financially, you can't just
Up and move
like people
that.
don't have the resources. And talking about the prescience of this observation, why didn't you leave? And the answer is basically, I can't afford to leave. We are now living in, if I'm being optimistic, a post-COVID moment where we've all lived through. Again, if I'm being optimistic, if for the sake of argument we say that COVID is over or this COVID event is over.
Right.
And there were so many of us that made decisions during lockdown, during this, that were based on the resources that we had or didn't have. And much like Katrina, a lot of people who had resources, who had avenues of movement,
Yeah.
judged people who made different decisions. Well, why didn't you do this? Well, why didn't you stay home? Well, why are you on the bus? Why did you do this? And there was such a parallel to me with that. The other thing that I think is worth noting that you get from the first episodes, besides the setup with all of these different voices, this real focus on the decisions people made, talking about Betsy, apparently, if you live in New Orleans, according to this documentary, I'm not from New Orleans. I don't know. I'm just going by the documentary. But the accepted wisdom is that the government, the local business folks, the whoever, blew a levee
Yep.
in 65. I mean, 65 or 67? 60, in Bet's 65. And they blew the levee to have the water go to another part of New Orleans, a more impoverished part,
Right.
to save the French Quarter.
Right.
Because if you know anything about New Orleans, if you've never been in New Orleans, in New Orleans, the French Quarter is the tourist section. It's the section that is the jewel
Yep.
of New Orleans.
Yep.
Let's be clear. There are other parts of New Orleans that are also beautiful, that are also worthy of being preserved. But the money is in the French Quarter.
Yeah.
So that since 1965, people have said they blew a levee to protect the French Quarter.
Right.
And one of the things that they speak about, and you have firsthand accounts where people talk about, I heard an explosion, I heard a boom, and there is conversation about whether or not they blew a levee
This time.
during Katrina.
Exactly.
And I think what is more important than they did or they didn't is the fact that people believe that they could have.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does that say about the standing of the government with the common person in New Orleans, that they believe this is something they possibly could have done? And so you have this, again, whole hour, very comprehensive. Move to the second hour. Second hour is really about Katrina has hit.
Mm-hmm.
And there are just these horrific firsthand accounts of living through this storm, which was bad. Mm-hmm. Let's be clear, the storm was bad, but we've all sort of accepted, many of us who watched it happen, the storm was bad, but what really destroyed New Orleans was, as the title says, when the levee broke.
The levees broke.
And then the flood water came. Mm-hmm. And this is when people were trapped in their houses. This is when people were power goes out completely. Mm-hmm. This is when you start to hear everything from the Superdome, because part of the decisions that people make in the first episode that, don't have the option to stay in a hotel, to leave town.
When the New Orleans is ordered to evacuate.
Is that, we'll go to the Superdome, which the Superdome, they have this grading system they call category, for a hurricane. And apparently Katrina was a category 5 hurricane. And at this time, the Superdome was the only building in New Orleans that was category 5 proof.
Right.
Which, let's let that sit there for a second. That in the city of New Orleans, the Superdome was the only building that was category 5 proof. This is coming from the city officials. Mm-hmm. So in episode 2, where things start going really badly, this is when people are trapped in the Superdome. This is when things go, during the fog of war, you have the police commissioner on, and they talk about the police commissioner is the one who started the disproven stories.
Mm-hmm. He's the one that started all the rumors
about the rape and the murder and everything going on within the Superdome, that those of us who don't live in New Orleans, we all heard on the news.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it again, 20 years later, it has all been disproven.
Yes.
But again, to Spike Lee's credit, to get people involved, and people actually became involved with the documentary. If you want to give credit to the police chief who started it, he apologizes.
He's right there.
And he says, again, it was the fog of war. No one was communicating. I had heard
he was
story.
getting misinformation.
The misinformation I got was that my daughter was in danger. Mm-hmm. And that was the emotion I was under as I was talking at the time. And talk about, the prescience of the documentary, and again, how it connected to me now. There's the documentary is made in 2009. Katrina happens in 2005. So this is 5 years later.
Well, it's released in 2009.
I'm sorry,
made it.
Right, I'm sorry, right, made in 2006. So a couple of years later. Right. And there are these moments throughout the documentary where people are talking about what happened. Mm-hmm. But they're in a studio, it's Spike Lee, it's a camera crew, and people start breaking down and crying and remembering. And it made me think about, and look, we were on lockdown. We, went through COVID like everybody else, but I'm always quick to say my COVID experience was a fairly benign one compared to what a lot of people went through. Like, I was with my family, I could work from home, I could, get Instacart. Like, but there are moments, like there was a moment this weekend we were driving, and there's an area around here called Chad's Ford, and we were out there, and we were coming up a road and saw a Target. And it was something about, because, we're moving in the fall, and it's something about the way the light hit the Target and the angle we were coming from. It reminded me how in the midst of the lockdown, the whole family just got in a car after, however many weeks, and said, we just got to drive. We just got to get out. And I remember that feeling of driving and seeing a Target, and the light hit it the same way. But I remember that feeling in the height of it, where we just did not know what was going to happen with this thing. And again, I don't want to be dramatic. I don't need therapy or anything with it. No more therapy than I think the whole country needs. Again, my COVID experience was pretty benign. People during Katrina saw loved ones die, saw their homes destroyed, saw their city destroyed.
Even more than that, sorry to cut you off, they saw their loved ones die with them and then being unable to do anything about it. Unable to do anything with the body.
Nothing to do with the body.
Except just move it to the side.
So you realize that this is something that is always going to be with them. And again, to Spike Lee's credit, as a documentarian, he captures this. Like, he captures how this is going to haunt them for the, later on, in the last, the last part of the documentary, the subtext becomes text, where you do get people talking about the psychological damage and everything that happens. But the other thing that you get in the second episode is this focus on the sheer incompetence that is amplified through racism and classism. Like this sheer, Michael Brown, who's in charge of FEMA, and he's completely unqualified. Like, completely unqualified.
Yeah.
Like, everybody in this room is more qualified to run FEMA than he was.
Yep.
Like, when you look at his resume, everything, and this was this was basically a perk that was given to him.
Yeah.
Because he was a friend of the Bush administration. So the film captures how completely unqualified he is, but then because it's a poor black city, nobody cares. And yes, it 100% reminded me of the Trump administration's handling of COVID. Like, just the sheer incompetence. You're a Republican, you're a Democrat, whatever your feelings are about politics, there are some people who are competent, who are able to do a job. And so much of what happened during this moment did not have to happen if just one person, like, there's a moment with Soledad O'Brien who was really on the ground a lot. Yeah. And Soledad O'Brien talks about talking to Michael Brown and her intelligence, not her smarts, even though I think her smarts are, but like her intelligence gathering is sharper than his. And he's the head of FEMA.
And she referenced her nephew.
She actually says, my 23-year-old production assistant has better intel on what's happening in New Orleans than the head of FEMA. And you get all of that in this second episode. Third episode, moves chronologically, but now you get the sort of the the extension of this theme of incompetence, where the aftermath, where people are displaced, when people are finally quote unquote rescued, they are sent to 44 different states
with no records of where they're going.
One-way tickets.
One-way tickets.
There's no record of who's
Where, yeah.
so that you have families
Broken up.
who don't know
Whether or not their loved ones are still alive.
their loved ones, their relatives are. At one point, Dr. Michael Eric Dyson says there is very much a parallel to slavery when families are broken up and sent away. And your instinct is to say, all right, dog, you're being a little dramatic right now. But he's not wrong.
Cut to a mother in Utah.
Who does not know where her children are. And again, just the sheer incompetence, the sheer racism. This is the moment on the news where they're talking about people going to different parts of the United States. And there was a moment, I was about to drop an F-bomb. These sons of bitches are calling them refugees.
Yep. There it is.
Like there's this beautiful quick montage where Spike Lee shows all of the newscasters calling American fucking citizens refugees. Refugees, the refugees.
Yep.
And it's all racism.
Yep.
Like you can't tell, it's nothing but racism.
Yep.
And again, if you close your eyes, it's the exact same way that people are talking about Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio.
It's the exact same
today.
thing.
They're breaking laws. They're causing crimes. They're making the ruckus. And it is sobering that 20 years later, it is this same kind of language. It is this exact same dynamic that you see. And then, you get to the fourth episode and, you start to, you see the resilience
Yes.
of New Orleans throughout. But I do think the fourth episode shines as much of a light on the resilience as they move into almost a year later and they're talking about a Mardi Gras. And and it's just beautiful. Like it's beautiful, but they talk about part of the beauty of New Orleans is frankly the black people from New Orleans, and they talk about again how forces are using this moment to clean out, quote unquote, black people. The thing that I love about so many of the participants in the documentary, going back to the sort of belief that they blew the levee in '65 for Betsy. People who live in the lower Ninth Ward, which is a section of New Orleans that was affected arguably the worst, say they've always known that they didn't want them in the lower ninth. And, I have to say, when you talk about this as little or as much as my father, as I've mentioned, lived in the Callio projects in the lower ninth. And it is beautiful over there. And it is right on the water. And you completely understand why developers
Want that land.
would not want these poor black people over there. But I love the fact that on this documentary, they talk about it. And you and I were talking I just sort of have watched this stuff over the years. And I was so happy that frankly, the fuckery of the insurance companies was caught on this documentary, where the actor Wendell Pierce tells this horrifying story.
Oh my God.
Of how his father, a World War II veteran who paid his mortgage, paid off his house, paid his insurance for 50 years.
50 years, never missed a premium.
They gave him nothing. And you like we've all heard the okey doke story where the insurance company said, well, the hurricane didn't destroy this. This was the flood water. Mm-hmm. And you didn't have flood insurance. Mm-hmm. Like that's the okey doke many of us have heard. But in the case of the Pierce family, they actually had flood insurance. But even with that, they got $640.
Yeah.
And that's before you subtract the premium that they have to pay and so on and so forth. And then the fourth episode is, again, where the subtext becomes the text, where you have therapists and psychologists and people, and they talk about the trauma that the denizens of New Orleans have gone through. So that, you know, I feel like I was talking a long time, but, you know, it's 4 episodes. This is a monumental achievement. Like you said it, and I say it all. Like Spike Lee is without a doubt my favorite filmmaker. Mm-hmm. I will, you know, famously I put his first 5 films up against anyone's first 5 films. I think Do the Right Thing is in the top 10 of the greatest American films ever made, and it ain't bringing up the rear. Mm-hmm. Like I think Four Little Girls is a documentary that has made me angrier than anything. Mm-hmm. I think his Michael Jackson documentary is the best Michael Jackson documentary. Like, you know, This Is It is a concert film, and I like it better. But as a documentary, I think Bad is the best Michael Jackson documentary. But I think When the Levees Break is the most important thing Spike Lee has ever done.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I second everything that you have said. So I'm not going to go. You touched on a lot of the moments in the documentary. It's a monumental achievement. It's a mesmerizing, haunting documentary. I mentioned Terrence Blanchard, also co-producer on this, and Terrence Blanchard, noted musician, and his music is all throughout this, lending just you know, smartly. It's not overdone. Spike Lee has a habit sometimes with some of it's more his fiction work, to me, for the music to be a little bit overpowering. But this one, the music it's very artfully laid in, you know, selectively and smartly laid in, and it just adds to the drama, the intensity, the mood that these scenes want to set. And then Terrence Blanchard's story of there's a moment, like I said, he is from New Orleans. He returns in the 4th episode to New Orleans with his mother to her home, and it is a home that, for the most part, remains intact. There is damage from the storm on the outside.
Sure.
But once you cross the threshold and go inside and see how the kitchen is now in the living room and the pictures are off the wall, and when his mother breaks down inside that home,
so tough, because
that was her whole life. That was his life too, but you know that's what you worked for. Yeah. You know, that was your slice of the American dream. Your slice of American dream is to be a homeowner, that there is a part of America that is yours, and it is now gone. And you feel like you have insured yourself that with it's going, like maybe you might be able to get some type of monetary, you know, recompensation for that, but nothing will replace the memories. You know, you look at the furniture and stuff, but it's when you realize that the pictures are gone.
Yes,
you know, it's when you realize that the favorite books, the eyeglasses, those real personal things. That's when it hits down, and that's a very, very hard moment to take in. The other thing, you didn't touch on it, but Spike, he is unflinching with his eye in this. Yeah. So one of the scenes, if you can remember, because some of you may be young enough. We're talking about almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
One of the scenes that you would see on the news a lot of the time were, yes, you saw people stuck in attics, you saw people being rescued by helicopters, and that footage just is all throughout this. But you mentioned about people having their loved ones dying. Mm-hmm. There was scenes of people who you would see their loved ones being dead, and they'd just drape a blanket over them for people to find them later. There's a touching story about this one man who was with his mother. He rescued his mother. He pushed his mother all the way on a wheelchair, all the way to the Superdome, and is just waiting outside in 100-degree plus heat, just waiting for some type of salvation of food or water to come. And he's talking to his mother back and forth. And after about 10 minutes, he realizes his mother is no longer talking to him. He turns, and his mother is dead. Mm-hmm. And he has there's nothing that he can do but move his mother to the side.
Yeah.
And leave a note with her that this is my mother, and contact me whenever they eventually come for the dead,
right? Which
is a whole nother story,
right?
But another haunting image of this is that in the flood that destroys New Orleans in the lower Ninth Ward, you see bodies floating.
Yeah.
And they are now bloated from floating in the water for so long. Mm-hmm. As the water subsides, you see bodies just stretched out all over the street. Some of them, rigor mortis, stuck in just almost unrecognizable.
Yeah, as human bodies.
As human bodies.
Yeah.
There is a quick, and you'll miss it, but I unfortunately was looking. There is a corpse of a dog.
Yeah.
That is hanging from a window. Mm-hmm. That I don't know if the dog was trying to get out or whatever, didn't make it, and it's the corpse of that dog.
Yeah.
And man, it freaked the hell out of me seeing that. And kudos to Spike for having this unflinching eye, but kudos also to him because as a documentarian, he does what we sometimes fault him in his movies. He gets out of the way.
Yeah.
Sometimes you hear his voice kind of prodding people with questions and stuff, but that's very infrequent.
He's invisible.
He is almost, and he never appears on camera.
Right.
And he gets out of the way, and like you said, he lets the people of New Orleans tell their story. Mm-hmm. Whether or not they be the politicians, who some of them have to deal with their own, failings, have to deal with their own feelings, or the citizens having to deal with, tell their story and deal with the anguish that is still in a lot of them. And this is a very powerful document, and it's so powerful that, dude, I'm not gonna lie. I came into the studio ready to just knock you upside your head for choosing this, because I do not often get in bad moods from film. Mm-hmm. Famously, we talked about it when we reviewed Roswell. That is a movie that left me insane. Rosewood.
Roswell is the aliens.
Right. Rosewood, excuse me, Rosewood. When we reviewed Rosewood, I remember watching it in the theaters, and I had to detox from white people for 24 hours. Mm-hmm. And it was the same after we watched it again. And this movie had me in a mood. I live in a predominantly white neighborhood. I stayed in my house till it was time for me to come out to do this, because this puts you in a mood, man. And because yes, it's predominantly black people that were affected by this. There are more than a few white people in this movie.
Yeah, oh yeah.
In this documentary that are affected by this as well. But some of them let their, Dixie flag fly. I'm thinking about one particular guy who lets the N-word drop out very casually from his mouth. The politicians from the doofus looks on their faces. You know, you talk about Mike Brown. We could go on and on about George Bush.
Yeah.
We could go on about about his mother and how stupid she comes off.
my God.
You know, talking about how people they seem to enjoy being that they're
my God.
find themselves now here in Texas.
What did she say? It's an upgrade for
It's
them?
an upgrade for them, and and I've never seen so many happy faces or words to that effect. Says it's in the news.
I mean, it's footage of it. Like
It's
this,
footage of
this
her
is what
just
somebody said.
saying these words.
Oh, my goodness.
So, yeah, man, and you're right. When they drop that refugees, you can't help but think about how they are demonizing, the Haitians now
And dehumanizing.
You're right, othering
Othering and
the
dehumanizing.
Americans othering Americans.
Look.
Never mind that it shouldn't be done at all.
To anyone.
To anyone at all.
Right.
To anyone at all. But the fact that these are Americans who have been moved to other states, they didn't want to move. They did not want to move. Yes, there are some who moved to other states, and because of were able to rebuild and make a life for themselves.
Right.
But they still were starting over from ground. The bulk of them did not want to move.
Yeah.
There's this one boy was talking about, I just want to go back home.
I want to go home.
I want to go home to New Orleans.
Yeah.
There's this one woman who they cite throughout all four parts who talks about her mother's here, her sister's in Houston.
Oh, yeah, Phyllis.
Phyllis, I am here in New Orleans. I am staying in New Orleans. She gets a FEMA camper. She's going to make the best of her FEMA camper. She is not leaving. It's a powerful document.
Yeah,
man.
the great Phyllis LeBlanc.
Right.
Because she's a personality. She actually becomes a bit of an actress. Because she's in Treme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a very powerful document. And I will also say that while this is a requiem in 4 parts, it is 4 parts. It is long. It is, for the sake of this, I don't know how you watched it. I watched this all in one sitting.
Oh,
I would not recommend you watching this
You are
in
a
one
madman.
sitting. Because it puts you in your feelings. It puts you in your feelings.
Oh, my God. You watch this 4 hours straight?
I watched it 4 hours straight, man.
I was going to tell people watch it an hour at a time.
That's what I was about to say.
Because I watched it in 2-hour chunks. And, to your point, it got, when Wendell Pierce was talking about his father, and this was after that, and this is one of the hardest things I think I've ever watched. That sequence with Terrence Blanchard and his mother just crushed me.
Yeah.
So when it got to Wendell Pierce, I remember watching thinking, please don't show what Wendell Pierce is talking about. Like, I can't deal with another elder.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dealing with this in real time again. So there's that. I wanted to circle to something you said and piggyback when you talked about the fact that although the vast majority of the participants in this were Black, there were New Orleans from all walks of life.
Yes.
That participated. And talking about something that we rarely give Spike Lee credit for, I loved the light touch that he does to show the different socioeconomic situations of people in New Orleans. Like there's this wonderful old white couple
I knew you were going to go there.
who are actually rich. And everything about them, everything they say, their body language.
Oh my God, yes.
Like
Yes.
they are very much, in fact, the story they tell is that when it happens, they were overseas.
They were on vacation.
You know, like the guy tells this wonderful story about seeing the ruins of Pompeii, and I see it, and then I see what's happening in New Orleans, and it's just so tragic and so awful.
We were at the ruins of Pompeii. So then after that, as we were at a little cafe.
Right, as we were and let's be clear, Lynn and I are sort of exaggerating for effect.
Not much.
But Spike Lee is not judging.
No, not at all.
Spike, there is no comedy. This is their Katrina experience that they are sharing.
Yep.
We are New Orleans. This is where we live in New Orleans. We have a voice in New Orleans. And every rung on the socioeconomic ladder, you have people, it took me a long time to get the check so that I can rebuild. And you know, I just got the insurance check and I don't know. And you know, I got to do this. To, I don't know where my family is.
Yeah.
We don't have electric. I mean, even, you know, Phyllis LeBlanc, who we talked about, who's really kind of the breakout. She has a trailer. She's in good humor. But as you said, you know, her family is scattered. She still has her husband.
Yeah.
She's still in her right mind. So like even her experience compared to, you know, for instance, the woman who was displaced, you know, it looks like she's going to build her a new life, but you know, she's displaced in Utah.
Yeah.
Her children were in Texas.
I know.
She had no idea where anyone was. Or, once again, Mr. Pierce, his everything is just destroyed, and they don't give him anything for it. And I admire this light touch, which again speaks to Spike Lee's relative invisibility, where the camera never judges these people's experience. Your experience was your experience. Your experience was your experience. We bring it all together, and you get this mosaic of experiences.
Yeah.
There's a moment on the other end of the spectrum where at one point, Wynton Marsalis is singing St. James Infirmary over a montage of dead bodies.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I don't know if you could get more New Orleans on the nose than this moment, but this is an event that calls for this level of sort of amplification. Like in another context, this would be a cliche.
Right.
You know, the jazz man singing St. James Infirmary, not only the jazz, you know, a jazz man, the jazz man. Wynton Marsalis, you know, he's singing St. James Infirmary, talking about New Orleans, but you know, I again, Spike Lee capturing this, like just the fact that he captured it, I think is worthy of achievement. You know, the fact that he's Spike Lee, you get all of this participation, even to the point where you get this the infamous or famous footage of Kanye West saying George Bush doesn't care about black people, and you're like, oh wow, that was a historic moment. I remember that historic moment happened, but then Kanye West himself participates in the documentary.
It was a different time.
But again, you had all these players who have now almost 20 years later, and frankly, fairly soon after it happened, have become part of this mythology. It was wonderful to hear their own voices speak to all of this. And
I would have loved for him to have been able to capture the voice of Condoleezza Rice, because I didn't know her story about how tone deaf she was to what was going on.
you remember? Can you tell the story? Because it's a great story.
If I remember,
Michael Eric Dyson tells the story.
Right, he tells the story about Condoleezza Rice. If I remember, is while this is all going on, she's shopping.
Right. First, she's shoe shopping. She's at the Ferragamo store.
Right.
All right. Okay, keep going.
She's shoe shopping for Ferragamo, and you know she learns about this, and I think she may have put out some type of statement
Right.
about that. But then the next morning, she's playing tennis
Yeah.
with Monica Seles. Mm-hmm. All while this is going on.
Yeah.
While people are being...
You skipped what she did that night
Oh, because that night she went
to see Spam-A-Lot.
And is that where she's confronted by somebody?
Well,
in
she's
the audience?
confronted all through, like she's confronted at the Ferragamo store.
Yes.
Then she's confronted at Spam-A-Lot. And then, as you said, she's playing tennis. And Michael Eric Dyson says, so this is someone who is more interested in Balonics, or the shoes Balonics, Broadway, and balls. This Birmingham, we're not doing it justice at all.
We're not.
Michael Eric Dyson is.
He does it much better.
But yeah.
That because I didn't know that was new information for me. I was like, and not that I'm a big Condoleezza Rice fan at all.
Sure.
But it was like, whoa.
Yeah.
You'd hope that the sister in the administration.
Look, man. Look, I think, try not to get too overtly political, but like I think because of the political moment that we have lived through and are living through at this moment, it's very easy to look back at the Bush administration through rose-colored lenses and say, well, at least they weren't madmen. At least, again, what I just said about this, that, and other. But one thing the documentary reminds you, they were horrible.
Yes. And the thing about
like when he said, they talk about the so many infamous quotes from this moment where George Bush says, "You're doing a great job, Brownie." Mm-hmm. It was like Pavlov. I got triggered when I heard it. I'd forgotten. It was like, right.
Yeah, and it was.
You're doing a great job, Brownie.
And it's a fun moment where some body calls what they call Dick Cheney. You call him like an asshole right there, like to his face. So that was really would you recommend that people see When the Levees Broke, a Requiem in 4 acts?
I would. I think you have to. I think you have to. I think, again, look. As a documentary, just as an artistic achievement, just on the level of craft, on as an example of Spike Lee as a master filmmaker, I think this is an amazing document. Mm-hmm. I think it is better filmmaking than some of his films. Mm-hmm. I think, as I said, I think there is a lighter touch that he has with this documentary that as you mentioned with the music, like I wish there was this kind of light touch in some of his films that you see in here. As a historical document, again, I'm not the Hurricane Katrina documentary expert, but I don't know if I saw another documentary about Katrina and this moment that is better than this.
Me neither.
And so just for that, and then like I said, post-COVID, it hits different.
Oh yeah.
Like it really did hit different over the past 2 days where again, there's a moment in here where Ray Nagin is talking about how people were comparing him and his and what he did during Katrina with Rudy Giuliani in 9/11, and Ray Nagin rightly points out, it's a little unfair because as horrific as 9/11 was, it was a moment. Like 9/11, the attacks happened and then it was over, and it was over before many of us even knew what was happening, and then it was dealing with the aftermath. And 9/11 if we're talking about what happened in New York, was in this isolated area. Whereas Katrina, and what we talk about as Katrina and the levees breaking, was an entire city. Like as Terrence Blanchard pointed out, 80% of the city was underwater.
Yep.
And this was something that went on for an extended period of time. I mean, just to circle back to the brother who spread the rumors about the rape and the crime, one of the things that he pointed out, and that is a theme throughout, like if you were an official, you weren't sleeping, you weren't bathing, it was the heat, everything. Like, they talk about the Coast Guard, who was one of the very few kind of organizations that did what they, everyone felt like, you talk about people getting rescued from the water, understand that wasn't the federal government, that wasn't the state government or even the city government. That was the Coast Guard who stepped up. But even they had to break their own rules.
Yeah, they had to go above and beyond.
And, now we're flying in helicopter, 12, 16-hour shifts. So it is similar to the trauma and to this sort of moment with COVID where, for a long time there, it was open-ended. Like, we didn't know. And again, I'm being very optimistic in talking about COVID as something that's over. People are dying.
Yeah, still people getting COVID.
People are still getting COVID. People are still dying. We still have not really identified what long COVID is and what the effects that's going to have. So this treatment of the effects of this traumatic event, I think holds many lessons for us now. So that, again, I think this is technically a masterpiece and a masterfully made text. And I think as a historical document, it is invaluable. Again, all the people who are on record in this documentary, talking as a historical piece, it's invaluable. And then just as something we can learn from. I think it's invaluable. Yeah, without now, much like we said, I do suggest people watch it. Maybe watch it for an hour, live your life, come back tomorrow, watch an hour, and watch it over 4 nights. Don't be like Madman Vincent, real Madman Lynn, and watch it all. But yeah, I absolutely. And you?
I would definitely recommend that people see When the Levees Broke, a Requiem in 4 acts. If you haven't seen it in a long time, see it again. Free plug is streaming on Max right now.
And the sequel is on there. 5 years later, Spike Lee went back and did another 4-part series, God Willing and the Creek Don't Rise. My people would say the crick. My people would say God Willing, the creek don't rise. But
yeah, people not, all New Orleans.
Yeah, but yeah, God Willing, the creek don't rise, which I did not start because I didn't want to get that mixed up with what was in here. But I'm going to revisit that as well.
The only other addendum I would add is that I think there should be some type of movement in much of the way that we commemorate 9/11.
Yes.
For the event that it was.
Yes.
And I can see in the not too distant future the way that the COVID pandemic will be commemorated. March 20th is already like, a day. Was it March 20th, I think?
That sounds right.
That was that date. I think that Hurricane Katrina and what happened is something that should be remembered. It should be commemorated.
Well, it's so...
And I think in New Orleans, I wouldn't be surprised if it isn't already.
That's what I was about to say. You and I have both been to New Orleans since then, and we've been fairly recently. You went last year.
2 years ago.
2 years ago, and I went a couple of weeks ago. And I've been a couple of times since Katrina, but never left the quarter. Like I was there for something, was in the quarter, went to the hotel, this, that, and the other. And when I went back a few weeks ago, it was the first time since Katrina that I went outside the quarter and drove around. And more pointedly, it's the first time I went to the Ninth Ward. Since as I mentioned, the Callio projects, I think Master P was from there. And like I said, my dad lived in Callio projects, and they're gone.
Yep.
The Callio projects are gone. And it's mixed income housing there now. And it feels a lot emptier. And there's so much of New Orleans that, again, I'm not a New Orleans expert. I've just visited visited my whole life and go there 2-3 days at a stretch. It felt a lot emptier. And frankly, it's much whiter than I remember. And to your point, I agree with you. It should be commemorated, and we should. And I'm certain that people do commemorate it in certain quarters. But as they said in this documentary, in 2005, in 2024, when I was driving around, I said, I wonder if this was the plan the whole time. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I just think we owe it to them. We owe it to them to always remember.
Absolutely.
And you're right. This is something that should be taught. And if it's not taught as a part of a curriculum, then you can make it a curriculum in your home.
Absolutely.
And teach your children.
Absolutely.
They should see this. All right? Okay.
All right.
All right. That is our review. Next. Before we tell you what we're going to be reviewing next week and the special guest that will be joining us, I invite you to send all of your feedback via email. Send it to the Micheaux Mission at micheauxmission@gmail.com. That's MICHEAUXMISSION@gmail.com. You can also find and follow the Micheaux Mission on the social media of your choice, whether or not it be Instagram, X, or Facebook at Micheaux Mission. The Micheaux Mission streams on YouTube, where we have new videos going up, where we go live every Tuesday night at 7 p.m., where we have shorts going up. We invite you to hit that bell, subscribe to the Micheaux Mission, hit the bell so you're notified of when we go live and when we put up our new videos, and tell a friend. Vince asked you to bring 3 friends to the mission last week. When I asked you to bring 3 more friends.
3 more friends. And those of you who didn't bring your 3 last week, now you're up to 6.
Now you got to bring 6. And they got to subscribe either to the Micheaux Mission on YouTube or wherever you find your podcasts, whether or not that be Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio. Where there are podcasts, you'll find the Micheaux Mission, who is a proud member of The Podglomerate. ThePodglomerate.com. They make podcasts work, such as ours, which streams every Tuesday live right here from Young Junk, Philadelphia's premier video podcast palace. If you want to book yourself in one of their fabulous studios, you can email our man Dylan at youngjunk.com. That's DYLAN at youngjunk.com. All right. Next week, our good friend Stephanie Watts of the Be Real Black Cinema Club returns to the Micheaux Mission as we close out Doc to Schools in September with a review of Tell Them We Are Rising, the story of Black colleges and universities.
That's right.
Oh, boy, I was not aware of this documentary.
Yeah.
So I am really looking forward to checking it out. I'm really looking forward to sitting down with Stephanie.
Yeah.
Having a good time, because it's always a good time with Stephanie.
That's right.
All right. Until then, he's Vincent, I'm Len, and in parting, we say,
We'll see you when it's time to meet again.